full. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. Game over, series over, and the Red Sox are world champs again. It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions. From the top on down, here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series.
This is the Inside the Sox podcast, and now, here's your host, Kevin Baver.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Inside the Sox podcast, brought to you by Grandstand Productions. My name is Kevin Baver. I got my good friend, my dear friend, Rob Anglin with us. Rob, how you doing?
There's been better days, but I'm doing good.
It's going to be tough, and we have a guest today. We're going to jump right into this because this is a very, very difficult day. We have our first guest on Inside the Sox. We couldn't be more grateful. We couldn't be more honored. We got Corbin, Red Seat Radio. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing as best as I can be doing. You know?
Yes.
It's been a long 24 hours, something close to that hours. At that point.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting to the 24-hour point. So this is, I hate to say it, but this is probably going to be a little bit of a dark episode. We're going to jump right into it. Winter meetings, but before we get to that, we're going to talk Xander Bogaerts. We're going to talk Xander. Midday yesterday, right? High noon. We were all riding high. We thought that our boy, our unidentified captain was coming back. We thought it was done. Reports were coming out from all over the place. Heimblum, not speaking much at the winter meetings about what was going to go on with Xander, but kind of giving little inclinations of what could possibly go down. And then all of a sudden around midnight last night, it was just ripped from us. So let's go around the table. Rob, I'm going to start with you. Your feelings on the whole Xander, 11 years, $280 million, San Diego Padres.
The first thing I'm going to say is it's very hard, especially like seeing Xander since I was 12 years old, because I'm 23 years old. So he's been around for 10 years plus. So this one, I think my favorite player is Mookie Betts in baseball, but this one I think stung a lot more than Mookie Betts just because like this is a guy that wanted to stay with the Red Sox. He even mentioned about taking a pay cut, taking a Trevor Story-like deal, less money to stay in Boston in spring training. That news came out yesterday about that deal, which is kind of crazy that the Red Sox are cheap enough not to offer that offer, because that's a reasonable deal for a young 30-year-old shortstop who's done a lot for you. Obviously, him going to San Diego, it's well-deserved. I mean, obviously, he wanted the years. The Red Sox did offer more of an AAV for him, which I think they offered him a reasonable price, but he wanted the years. He kept negotiating. It was about years. He wanted to have security. He wanted to stay in Boston. Red Sox didn't offer up the years, and that's kind of where we lost. And the San Diego Padres were looking to spend money. We saw them $400 million offer to Judge. They offered a Trey Turner decline. They were willing to throw money at anybody. And then once they saw Xander Bogaerts wanted years, gave him the years, gave him the money. And rightfully so. Xander Bogaerts deserves every penny of that contract. Even at 41 years old, we lost our captain, our undefined captain, I should say. We lost someone that is a fan favorite in Boston, and it's some dark times right now at Fenway, but I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, and Corbin, just to start, welcome, and once again, I'm sorry we have to dive into this, but your thoughts on the whole Xander Bogaerts San Diego?
Well, thanks for welcoming me. I'm happy to be here. I have a lot of thoughts on Xander to say.
Yeah, please.
I think first off, the number one thing I want to say is that I've already gotten a little bit tired of everyone being like, this is all Bloom's fault. Yeah. Yes, Chaim Bloom has probably a decent amount to do with this, but at the end of the day, this is a repetitive pattern that has gone on with the Red Sox, and it's been a problem with the Red Sox, the front owners, or the front office, the ownership for years before Chaim Bloom was even considered for this job. So that's what I want to say right off the bat. I have my problems with Chaim, but this Xander thing goes way above his head. Second off, I totally agree with you, Rob. I mean, I understand idea that the Red Sox probably weren't going to be able to match the 11 years, 280, whatever he got at the end of the day. But also at the same time, too, why couldn't the Red Sox have been like, wait a second, before you leave this room, Xander, let's bump that 6 to an 8.
Yeah.
Let's bump that 6 to a 9 with a mutual option at 8. Let's do something here. Let's get you off the board and let's get you back onto this team, because it felt like, right? And this has been my biggest problem with this whole thing. And the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around is that since essentially the Red Sox trade deadline at this point, right? They have been saying that Xander's their number one priority. Then you get to the offseason and it's the same sort of song and dance. You get for a month and a half, you're getting no, Xander's it. Xander's our guy. We're not even looking at any other shortstop. This is our guy. And then it comes out that their biggest offer was 6 years, when the entire time you knew Xander was looking for longevity.
Yeah.
Right. The front office is not stupid.
Yeah.
They're not a stupid organization. They know what Xander wanted, yet they still decided to say, maybe we can up the price, $2 million a year. Because if you look at the contract, right, they were offering him $27 million a year. What I was hearing, there was probably up to $30 million. That's only about $7 million at the end of the day for Xander, right? That's kind of chump change once you get into that $20 million range. What he was looking for was longevity. So it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that this pattern continues to grow and grow. And to be honest with you, fairly, a lot of people are also saying this is a foreshadowing what Devers is going to look like next year. And how are you supposed to argue that right now?
You can't.
It's insane.
You can't. You can't.
Yeah, I woke up at I woke up randomly at like 4:30 this morning, and my phone had blown up. Everyone was texting me, when it happened. I went to bed before it happened too. And I couldn't go back to sleep. You can't go back to sleep. No. I got up, I woke up, I went and took a shower. In the shower, I'm thinking to myself, because I'm sure you guys understand this. I'm sitting there and, my first thought was, man, as a YouTuber, as a guy who's got to make content and create content off of this type of news, like I'm probably going to be the guy who someone's like, I'm breaking this news. I'm breaking someone's heart this morning.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. And so it's just, I don't know, man. And Rob, you're right, man. I'm 24, about to turn 25. Xander's been on this team since I was 13 years old. Xander's quite literally grown up with me. He when you're watching baseball as opposed to every other sport, it's a sport where you're watching them for half of the year. Half the year. Sometimes you see them more than you see your family. These players become friends. These players become family to you. And it's something that I just don't understand how ownership has not been able to wrap their head around. Sorry.
Yeah.
A lot of
listen, Gordon, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I mean, when I was looking, I went back through some tweets on Twitter, which is probably a dangerous thing sometimes, but I was looking at what some of the more prolific people had Xander at the beginning of the offseason. And it was somewhere in the 7-year range. Anywhere between 180 and 195 million dollars, if not 200, right? Some people did get up into that 200 range. The most frustrating thing, and I don't know if I want to put it all on high. I might be with you, Corbin, on that. I know a lot of people are, want to burn this to the ground, and I get that frustration. I get that upsetment. There's a reason that all of us, when we found out, we had the reaction that we had. Devastated. Absolutely devastated. Where do we go from here? A lot of hopelessness. And at the same time, I do want to tip my hat to Xander. Listen, he got his years. He got his money. I can't be mad at him. I just can't. There's no way in my right mind as a fan, good for him. Go to San Diego. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he plays to that contract and it doesn't become an issue for him out in San Diego. As far as the Red Sox go, we got to talk about pivoting and what does that really look like? What is this team going to, we still have a hole at DH. We still have a hole, arguably, at shortstop, even though we can move some pieces around. And Corbin hit the nail on the head. What does this mean for Rafi Devers? What does this mean for Rafi Devers? Because to me, and I'm just being honest, you have no leverage. You have none. Okay. Zero leverage. Because when Pete Abrams puts out the article that Xander was willing to take 6 years, 160 million last year, and you didn't do it. History is now repeating itself with Rafael Devers. And you took his brother away. You took his mentor away. You took his best friend away out of the clubhouse. And now you're expecting this guy to sit at the table with you? Do you really are you that tone deaf that you think that this guy, whose number in years just skyrocketed, by the way, because he can pretty much ask for whatever he wants. I mean, regardless, because even if the Red Sox don't match him or don't come close to it, he's just going to leave. I mean, he's going to leave. He's either A, going to be traded, or B, he's going to leave. And I'm about to lose my mind. Rob, let's talk about the repercussions of what Xander means for the Red Sox.
Xander means, I think, more than just a player to the Red Sox. When it comes to Xander Bogaerts, like, it's clubhouse. It's like what they did with Christian Vasquez when they traded him last year. It took a hit to the clubhouse. He's a guy that was in that clubhouse bringing everybody's spirits up. He was a guy that everybody, fans, teammates, coaches loved. Xander Bogaerts was that guy in the clubhouse. And it's just like you said with Rafael Devers, he's losing a guy who's a mentor ever since he got called up. And it's kind of like you look at it. He's like, if you don't want to pay Xander Bogaerts, what makes you think they're going to want to pay him? And which they should. I've been saying it before, like in the offseason. If Xander Bogaerts were to walk, your main priority right now is you have to lock up Rafael Devers because he obviously is younger. He's been proven that the numbers he puts up are insane. He should be a Red Sox for the rest of his career. But how you think he's going to want to be with the Boston Red Sox? That the way they treated other players, the way they just let Mookie Betts get traded. They traded him for like chump change. I'm not going to lie. I love Verdugo, but
I love Verdugo.
None of those players have panned out yet. I mean,
No.
Verdugo he doesn't perform at a level that Mookie Betts does, and clearly, like we did with Mookie Betts, they didn't give him the money. The Dodgers gave him the money right away. Xander Bogaerts, same thing. Red Sox didn't want to pay him the money. Well, they did in a sense with the years. I said it on Twitter earlier. I said I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know why they didn't do a minimum of 8 years, $200 million. I feel like that would have been a perfect amount for Xander Bogaerts, enough years to where he could retire with the Red Sox at 36, 37 years old. But also, in a sense, it's like, how do you not pay this man? How do you not give him a contract? Now, for pivoting wise, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if that we move Trevor Story from second base to shortstop, if we're in on a guy like Dansby Swanson, training a guy like Willie Adames. I don't really see us getting Carlos Correa because I don't think if they're not willing to pay Xander Bogaerts, what makes you think they're going to spend the money for Carlos Correa? So it really like makes you think. But also we do have a guy like Marcelo Meyer who is ready by 2024. So I don't know if that's like, they're going to do, maybe they do a gap bridge year where they sign a guy like Gene Segura and put him at second base and have Story man shortstop for that one season until he's ready, or even put Meyer at second base. It's just, or Christian Arroyo could even play shortstop. Kike can play shortstop if you get another outfielder, an outfield hole that they still need. There's a lot of things. The starting pitching, there's still a hole. The bullpen they have been working on, so I'm happy they're working on something. But it's just, without Xander Bogaerts, it just feels like this is the first time where you feel like there's a hole in your team. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It still hurts. It's like shocking.
It doesn't feel right, and I'm sorry. I just want to let Justin give us a little bit of how you feeling about Xander right now, bud. Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Justin. Just go ahead, man.
I totally agree, Justin. They don't care about their homegrown players. Yeah. It's like John Lester, like that situation. I remember that too happening. I remember him getting traded to Oakland, and everybody was talking about, oh, bring him back. They're gonna bring him back next year. No, he's not gonna come back after the way the ownership treated him. Same thing with Mookie when he first got traded. Like, oh, maybe Mookie plays a year in LA. He comes back. Maybe the Red Sox can offer him more, and it's like a gap trade. Nope, same thing. He went to the Dodgers, stayed with the Dodgers before he even played a game, and then Xander ownership just plays with their homegrown talent. It's like they throw out money at people that are like, I mean, they gave Yoshida $100 million, rightfully so. He's very good. They said it's a little bit of an overpay from what I'm seeing on Twitter, but I mean, they're throwing $100 million at him, $140 million at Story, who is an amazing player. He deserves the money, but you should be giving that money to players that you develop. It just, especially they've proven that they can win World Series. They've proven that they can perform at an elite talent. Even Xander Bogaerts, even though his numbers regressed power-wise this year, his average was still good. He is still averaging a lot of doubles. It's just
Yeah.
they don't like their homegrown talent, it looks like, and it sucks. It does.
Corbin, let's talk about ramifications going forward. Let's talk about Devers. Let's talk about what this team looks like going forward.
Yeah, sure. Man, it's gonna have so many ripple effects. It's not even crazy. The first one is like there's so many things that go on behind closed doors that people just have no idea about. Like when I put out my YouTube video today, I got a lot of comments like, "Oh, I don't even remember Xander speaking. He wasn't a very vocal leader." Like to me, none of that stuff matters. What matters is the guys in the clubhouse. You had Chris Sale, you had Christian Arroyo, you had Trevor Story, who had been there for like 3 months at the time. You had Alex Verdugo, right? Now, those are just the guys off the top of my head. Nate Eovaldi mentioned Xander in his little speech about the clubhouse when Kevin Pilecki got DFA'd, right? That was all before Xander left. Now you're looking at after Xander left. You're looking at a locker room that has a hole. It's not just on the field. It's in that locker room as well. Who takes over the mantle of being that guy people go to when they need help with anything, not just baseball related, right? Chris Sale is a great leader in terms of firing guys up, getting guys to do the right thing on the field. It's guys like Xander who kept this team together through hard times. And that's where you're going to see the biggest ripple effect in this Red Sox team. It's not going to be on the field because there are ways that you can replace Xander's defense. Now, offensively, the dude finished 10th, what was it, 9th or 10th in MVP voting.
Yeah.
He won a goal, he won a Silver Slugger again. That was his 5th Silver Slugger. People want to talk about the power numbers, but at the end of the day, the dude had 3 less home runs than he had average throughout his entire career. It's not like he normally hit 45 home runs in this year. Like JD Martinez was a huge power gap, right?
Absolutely.
Xander Bogaerts had a couple less home runs than he normally has, right? It's not. He also, I mean, at one point he was looking at a batting title. So you're going to miss that bat in the lineup for sure. And I don't know if you're going to be able to replace that in one season. That might be something you're going to have to build to replacing because that's such a hard thing to find and replace really easily. As for Devers, I try to explain a lot of my stuff in terms people will understand because when you're looking at baseball players, you're looking at millions of dollars, right? So for a lot of people, it's like, what are you talking about? Of course, he's not going to give up $100 million to leave the Red Sox. That's crazy. But then you put it in, you scale that down a little bit and you say, all right, look, what if you worked at a company with your best friend in the whole world? This is the guy that brought you in, taught you everything, and he's up for a big promotion. They also want you for a big promotion. But all of a sudden they bring in another guy and they give that guy a promotion and Trevor Story. And then, so Xander's sitting there and he's like, okay, wait a second. Whoa. What about my promotion? Like, don't worry, we'll take care of you. How about $5,000 for a promotion? He's like, no, I'm worth $20,000 for a promotion, right? And so you get to the end of the year here, and Rafi's watching his best friend, his mentor, his leader go through all this and then go out into the free agent market or apply to other jobs and get a massive raise. If I'm Rafael Devers right now, I'm sitting there, I'm going, look, my contract just doubled. You got to pay me a stupid amount of money to keep me on this Red Sox team or a stupid amount of years because I just watched Mookie Betts go out and get what, $60-70 million more than you offered him in while he was still on the team. Xander got probably $80 million more than what the Red Sox would have topped out at. What's to say I can't get $110 million more than I'm going to offer? I mean, the fact that this is going to have major ramifications on them keeping Rafael Devers. Also, to Rob's point about Carlos Correa, we're probably not going to be all in on Carlos Correa. I really doubt we're ever going to, we're not going to pay him $300 million. But there is a slight part of me that's like, you know what a typical Boston Red Sox move is lowball the homegrown talent and then go out and spend
and get someone big.
Ridiculous.
That's the history.
Every
That's
time.
the history.
2010s. In 2010s, they did it a lot of times with Crawford and other players. So I wouldn't be surprised, but it's unlikely. But I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. You never know.
Yeah, my brain's telling me there's no way they're going to spend that money, but there's just the little piece of the back of my head. Like, what?
Wait a second, right? Like, because history does repeat itself with this team for whatever reason, and I said it. Not just the guys in the clubhouse. You had David Ortiz warn you. You had Dennis Eckersley warn you. You had Pedro Martinez warn you. Do not let this guy go. And I don't know if it was just I don't know what it is. I really believe that the Red Sox front number had it. I mean, Red Sox front office had a number, right? Like a set number. This is what we're willing to do. And it just wasn't enough. Bottom line, it just wasn't enough. It's upsetting. It's frustrating. The ripple effect, as Corbin put it, this is going to have ramifications with this team. Marcelo Meyer is not ready.
No.
He's not ready. And I know a lot of guys. Go ahead.
He's
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
He's also not a sure thing. I hate the idea of because like planning your entire existence, the next 3 or 4 years. Yes, obviously you have to include these prospects, but you have to include these prospects with a grain of salt, right? The big reason you build up a farm system is to have the ability to make trades, elite trades for elite level talent. That's why you build up such a good farm system. Look at the Dodgers. They use portions of their minor league system. They have 3-4 guys every year that they say, no, those guys aren't being touched, but everyone else is constantly moving around and they're getting great players because of it. That's why you build up a minor league system. The idea that we need to start looking strictly at the future because we have what is he like 2 or 3 number 2 or 3 prospect shortstop wise in baseball?
Yeah.
Like he's like 2 or 3. He's he's really good, but you can't sorry to cut you off.
No,
I don't think like when he is like major league ready, obviously, but it's just like that's what I agree with. You can't bank on a prospect to be amazing. They could be ranked top 2, top 3, and you would think, oh, he's the next big thing, and then they come up like look at Jeter Downs. Not saying anything, not to knock Jeter Downs down, but he couldn't handle AAA level.
Yeah, I'll knock.
He couldn't handle AAA hitting, and he comes to the major leagues. He has that one big hit against the Yankees. Everybody's like, oh, he's gonna be great. He can't. I mean, I want to see him succeed, but it's just not panning out, and it's just like you can't bank on these guys to fill a hole that Xander Bogaerts left. I mean, you got to look at. I mean, Meyer may be really good, but we'll have to see.
We've talked about it on this podcast, and we've talked about it a lot, since we started this in the off season. And I believe Heinz trying to do something that's not really done around Major League Baseball. He's trying to build a competitive team while having a top farm system. And unfortunately, in baseball, it's very hard to have both. It's very hard to have a top competitive team, right? We're talking deep playoff runs. We're talking about 100-win seasons. We're talking about AL East, champions, that kind of level. But also, we have the 3 of us can probably name 10 to a dozen guys in the farm system that we're excited about. And as a Red Sox fan, we don't really ever. We never cared about that. I got to be honest. I mean, guys came up, they played well. That's awesome. And we kept them around until they went somewhere else, or we shipped them. Chris Sale is a perfect example. We shipped, 2 of our, top 5 or 6 prospects at the time away for Chris Sale. You can't have both. And I think that's what Heinz trying to do. And I'm not trying to get in his mind or figure it out. But the way that I look at him and the strategy that he's using with this offseason, it's like, dude, you told Kike you want to build a better team, right? When you gave him that 1-year deal before the offseason. And it said, I'm going to put a better team on the field. But now we have a great farm system. Okay, great. How are you doing both? How are you going to do both? I just don't see it as something that's sustainable, I guess is probably the best word. It's so frustrating. Let's talk about the winter meetings a little bit. Corbin, tell us your thoughts, just a little bit about the Jansen signing, the Yoshida signing. Let's try to pivot the podcast.
It feels kind of wrong talking about anything else, to be honest with you. But Kenley, I like Kenley a lot. I thought that signing at the time was really good. His numbers not exactly fantastic with the Braves last season, but he still managed to have the 2nd most saves in all of baseball last year with 41. If you put that on that 2022 team, you're probably looking at a wild card contender at the very least, right? With Kenley at the back of the Red Sox bullpen 22. I don't hate the move at all. I think there are definitely some concerns with bringing in a guy at that age, especially a guy who's sort of on the back end of his elite closer career. But at the same time, too, we've needed that stability. We've needed a guy who you can rely on and go to. And it's something that we just haven't seen in a while in this Red Sox bullpen. So all in all, I was excited about Kenley. As for Yoshida, I thought right off the bat, the timing of it, in my opinion, before that Xander stuff went down, felt weird to me. The fact they drop $100 million on a guy right after all this Xander stuff comes out felt weird. I'm glad I was kind of right with that. Like, glad personally, not glad for the team or for the fans or anything like that. But yeah, Yoshida seems like he should be a good fit on this Red Sox team. He's got power. He's a fantastic on base guy. He can get on base. I think it was almost last year. He was walking more, double the amount of time that he was striking out. So he's a guy that can get on base. And there is obviously going to be some regression with his statistics coming into the major leagues. But one thing I really like about Yoshida and why I'm a little bit more confident that his regression will be less than a lot of other Japanese players that we've seen is because of that plate discipline. If you understand the strike zone, regardless of what pitch is coming in, and you understand how certain pitches break and which direction an arm slot moves, right? You're going to be able to adjust better to major league pitching. So that's something that I looked at and was like, okay, you know what? This could be a guy who could be our leadoff hitter, who could probably be a 3 or 4 hitter if we really need him to. Definitely spotty defense, but we had Manny Ramirez in left field for what, 6-7 years? I think we'll be all right. You know?
I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be all right.
I won 2 World Series with that.
Exactly. Rob, give us your thoughts on the winter meetings.
So far, but well, obviously, besides Xander Bogaerts not coming back, because I don't think that I'll ever think about dropping that. I think I give Chaim Bloom a B. I give Chaim Bloom a B. I really think he did what he had to do, went in there, focus on the bullpen. I really like the Chris Martin signing. Joely Rodriguez is a okay lefty reliever. And then obviously Kenley Jansen, he solved a problem that the Red Sox been having for a couple years now, and that's having a solidified closer. Obviously, the last time the Red Sox had a guy who was locked in as a closer was Matt Barnes, really. But Matt Barnes even lost his job. So the last time you could really say they had like a guy who was locked in as closer was Craig Kimbrell. But I think it's really good that they get, Kenley Jansen led the National League with 41 saves last year. I think he did lead the National League with blown saves as well. But I'll take the good with the bad. If the Red Sox had a lot more blown saves and blown leaves last year than any other team in baseball besides the Kansas City Royals. So it's good to help in the back end of the bullpen. And another thing that Chaim Bloom also did, he solved the problem that the Red Sox have been having for a long time, and that's not having a leadoff hitter. The Red Sox didn't have that guy that was like a solidified leadoff hitter. And I think Yoshida is going to be amazing. Like I said, you could slot him in left field, slot him in right field. I think left field's more preferably for him just because Alex Verdugo has shown like in the past, even in a shortened season, that he could handle right field. But I think Yoshida is great. He got some great speed. He's got good power. I'm not like the greatest in power, but he said he had great discipline. He had great place discipline. He has good pop, and he's got good speed. I think he's solid. I think the Red Sox needed a guy at that top of that lineup that could be a leadoff hitter. Your top. Kike was taking time. Trevor Story was taking time at the leadoff spot last year, but I think now having a guy that can lead off, get on base, and obviously I'm predicting a bounce back season from Trevor Story because now you get on runners on base for him and Kike at the top of that lineup. You put Story as your 3 hitter. As long as people can get on base, that produces more RBIs for your middle of the lineup. And the Red Sox, I don't think are done. I think they go after a DH. A guy like Michael Brantley could be an option that they can get for a couple years, maybe even like going out on a limb because we lost on a Mitch Haniger. The Red Sox wanted Mitch Haniger. He went to the Giants. That was like a kind of a crappy thing to see because I was in on Mitch Haniger, obviously, but there's still guys that you can add. And even you can add another outfielder. You can add another guy like Michael Conforto out there, maybe on a deal. People are forgetting about him. Brandon Nimmo's a guy that you could put in center field. Maybe move Kike to shortstop if you have to because he's an athlete. He can play wherever you need to put him. Maybe even sign a guy like Michael Conforto and put him at shortstop. And then also we got a tweet from Justin here talking about with the Xander Bogaerts situation. The AAV was there. If they didn't have Meyer in the wings, they would have upped the years for Xander Bogaerts. And I kind of agree to that as well. But it's just very like with the shortstop situation. I think if we get another outfielder, if we get a guy, like I said, maybe a Michael Conforto, maybe a guy like Brandon Nimmo, then you could really think about, okay, slot one of them in center field and move Kike to shortstop. There's some options that you can do there too. But all in all, I like the moves that he made. Obviously, the subtraction is obviously a Bogaerts is probably going to overshadow all the moves that he made. But honestly, besides that, I think he had a really good winter meetings.
Yeah, I think he had a good winter meetings too. I mean, some of the biggest things that we talked about that the Red Sox had to address was a bullpen. We had the fifth worst bullpen in Major League Baseball last year. I believe it was the fifth. Don't quote me on that, but statistically, I think it was around there. And to be honest with you, when you watched it, you would have thought it was the worst. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, there was a lot of games that I sat on the couch, and the fifth, sixth, seventh inning rolled around, and I was like, we don't have one guy. Like we don't have one arm, right, that we can throw out here right now. Just get me 3 outs and let's keep it moving. Um, yeah, the Jansen signing, it solidifies the back end of the bullpen. We haven't had someone in that role to come in. I know people are talking about his age. I know they're saying his elite years are over. He had 41 saves, right? 41. That was the number in the NL. I'll take that any day. I think Corbin hit on it. Like 41 saves. All of a sudden, maybe the Red Sox are a much better team last year. Excuse me. They're a much better team last year. Record wise, right? Record wise. Jolie, I like. Chris Martin is a strike machine. I was looking at his numbers. I was doing a little deep dive on Chris Martin. This guy just not throw balls, which is when you have command of that strike zone, especially in the late innings of the games where people aren't in tune with your stuff. You're not a starting pitcher. They're not, getting a read on the ball and things like that. And you come in firing strikes. That's something that's really can be productive and something that's really interesting to keep an eye out for. And then Yoshida, we'll talk about Yoshida. Japanese players, they're hit and miss when they come to the U.S. when they come to major leagues, and I'm hoping the best part is we didn't have a back end of our bullpen. We didn't have a leadoff hitter last year. We had so many guys rotate in and out of that spot. I think he could solidify the leadoff spot. Let's wait and see what happens in spring training and things like that, and see what Cora wants to do as far as the lineup goes. But for a small guy, I think he's only like 5'7", 5'8", like $170, $175, depending on, what you look at. But he's got pop. Like he's kind of got a little size to him. And I don't think he's going to have drastic as far as power numbers go. I think he hits more for contact. He can spray the ball to gap, which I think is so crucial when you're playing at Fenway Park, when if a ball gets into the gap, it could be mayhem, for an opposing team to get to. I'm hoping big things for Yoshida. And the sad part is he totally got I hate to put it, but he's got put on the back burner with Xander. Like when we all saw that, we're like, Heim's cooking. We're like, here we go. I almost pronounced his name wrong again. Heim's cooking. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second. Everybody, go grab your tissues, right? Like go grab your tissues, because the world just came to an end. And I feel bad for the guy, but I think it could be a smooth transition. Like I said, Japanese players, some turn out to be great. Some turn out to be really, really efficient players at the major league level in the U.S. I hope that's the case. There was a couple issues with the Red Sox. I just want to pick your guys' brains about it because I think it's kind of funny. So the Red Sox tweeted out a few things today, and it was like completely like read the room, right? Like completely read the room. They like announced like their bobblehead days, their Boston Strong T-shirt days, and we're all sitting here like with our tissue box, and we're angry, we're upset, we're anxious, we're overwhelmed, we don't know what's going on. We just lost the cornerstone of our franchise, and it's like I could care less what day you're handing out like a bobblehead, dude. Like you better hope that season ticket holders don't backfire and not renew, right? Like and then obviously they announced Chris Martin today, just like out of nowhere, like very like passive, just like, oh, by the way, we did sign Chris Martin, past his physical and this and that. Okay, awesome, guys. Like we're all distraught. So let's just Corbin, let's talk about just like the tone deafness of what the Red Sox have kind of become.
It's like announcing you're engaged at a funeral.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Hey, by the way, guys. By the way.
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, sorry about your uncle, but hey, the wedding's in 4 months. And honestly, I really don't fault the poor 18-year-old intern just trying to crack the
Yeah,
social
right?
media industry, who's got, his boss being like, hey, just to let you know, Chris Martin passed the physical day. You want to put something out? And the guy's like,
Sure.
But the tone deaf thing has been a narrative for the Red Sox for a while. I think the picture of John Henry in France or wherever he is licking the gelato out of the cone. Have you guys seen that picture? Yeah.
Yep.
That one's been circling around a lot lately. It's just the last time you talked to the media was in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just like
3 years.
What are you doing? The really bad one was the schedule, the giveaway schedule. Literally, it was the exact day they lost Xander Bogaerts.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was probably the social media intern. It was a scheduled post from TweetDeck or whatever you want to do. But how do you not go, okay, whoa, wait a second. Let's give these guys a day to simmer down before we throw it's crazy.
Give me 24 hours.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for a while.
That makes it funny is that on May 31st, they're doing a 2013 World Series champion bobblehead giveaway, and it's like, really? Xander was on that team. It's like you just had to post it that day.
You can't help but laugh a little bit. You can, I mean, right, Rob? I mean, this is, the tone deafness, and we've linked this to the Red Sox for years now. I mean, Corbin just hit it, and I was looking up the year on my phone, under here, trying to stay on screen, because I was like, when did John Henry last talk to the media? Sam Kennedy is such a yes man. Sam Kennedy is the absolute homer yes man. Let's tell them what they want to hear. And we'll figure it out behind closed doors. So, I mean, Rob, I got to hear your points on what you think of this.
I had a really big because sorry, my throat. I had a frog in my throat. I feel like for guys who don't know, I'm a big big TikTok guy. I always post about the Red Sox on there. And one thing that I did, I was literally as soon as the Xander Bogaerts news dropped, I was literally recording with puffy eyes. I literally just got done bawling my eyes out because it was a sad time. Yeah. But then I'm sitting here and I'm like, fuck F you, John Henry. I hate you, John Henry. Yeah, he thinks we're dumb. And I think oh my God, the fact that he's sitting there in France licking gelato while we're out here in Boston crying our eyes out about a team. It just goes to show. And I've honestly said it, and I'm going to say it again. I think he should sell the Red Sox. Yeah. I mean, clearly it's just he's more invested in buying the Pittsburgh Penguins and doing all this other stuff outside with the Fenway Sports Group that he could care less about the Red Sox. Boston Globe he owns too. I feel like he should just, it really is tone deaf. And I feel, like you said, I feel so bad for that. Whoever runs that social media account, because they're getting yelled at. And it's they don't control what the Red Sox do. They just go, hey, the social media teams, hey, you're going to post this today. We want you to post this today. Of course, he's going to do what he has to do because this is his job. And the replies are you suck, you lost X. What do we got? The guy throwing the chair, sit in the chair. My favorite one is the meme where the guy's wearing the Red Sox hat and it goes, a smile might be good. He's like, there's nothing to smile about in my life. So it's there's a lot of things that I think are it's odd timing that they post these things, but obviously you have to do it, but you can't just sit there and you got to laugh about it. Cause it's what else can you do? It sucks. Well, and then there's memes, people putting memes this one with, my favorite one is the one with the guy from Fairly Odd Parents. And it goes, this is where I would put Xander if I had Xander. It doesn't show it because my green screen, if I had Xander, but it's yeah, it sucks, but at least there's something to laugh about, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it provided a little bit of what would you call it, comedic relief, I guess. John Henry, and I was talking to a season ticket holder that I get my tickets through, and him and he warned me months ago, and he was like, "Listen, Kev, you got to prepare for a mediocre offseason. I know we're all trying to be optimists and what have you, but you just gotta pump the brakes. We'll see what happens." And he also, kind of talked to me a little bit about the John Henry situation. And what about right when the offseason started, he was talking about buying the Washington Commanders, the football team. And it's hey, in the back, the Red Sox, the team that made the money. I think he's selling Liverpool or is in the process of, finding a suitor for Liverpool, which is a $5 billion, team overseas. Obviously they had bought the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are worth $900 million. And he's talking about buying the Washington Commanders. And as Red Sox fans, we're all kind of sitting back going, hey, like, us, like, the reason why you're called Fenway Sports Group, like, can you throw us a bone over here? Like, can you like give us a presser, like give us something. John Henry, where you at? Just completely MIA. Corbin, we love to do this podcast, and the cool thing about this podcast and what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring other Red Sox content creators in here to have discussions, to talk about things that are going on, because we believe as a Red Sox content community, it's so competitive, and it's just nice to build people up, get people talking about what they like to do, obviously aside from the Red Sox, but what their brand is kind of about, what their content is kind of about. Can you just tell us a little bit about Red Sea Radio and what you do?
Yeah, so to keep it short and sweet, Red Sea Radio is a YouTube channel basically dedicated to everything Red Sox. When I was looking at because when I was looking at starting to get into Red Sox content creation, I wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't have anyone to do it with. I didn't feel like trying to reach out and rely on someone else right away personally, because I've been burned by that in the past. So I decided to try YouTube, and I wanted to make short videos that were concise, to the point, and they were easy to understand. Because one of the things that I noticed throughout the Red Sox community, especially on Twitter, is a lot of it's very, very analytical based. If you don't know what they're talking about, you have no idea why they're arguing, right? Even, I watch 162 games. I'm a pretty decent analytical guy, but there are a lot of times still where I'm on Twitter, I'm like, what are you talking about? Right.
Yeah.
So I want to try and be able to break that down and give it to people who, maybe they watch 50, 60, 70 games, right? They're in the mix, but they've got jobs, they got families, they got stuff like that, where I can't watch 162 games. So I want to try and bring that to YouTube. And I feel like so far we build a fantastic community. We're doing live streams, watching videos together. We have a ton of fun over there at Red Sea Radio. So I'm really proud of what we created. But at the end of the day, it's the best way to describe it, I think, is just it's a podcast broken up into chunks throughout a week. That's the best way I look at it.
That's awesome, and I love that, dude, because you're bringing content to, like you said, the average guy who's going to turn on the game in the background while his family's having dinner and watching 50, 60, 70 games a year. Red Sox Twitter is so funny because it can be a dark place at times, and you're right. There's a lot of numbers that are thrown out. There's a lot of analytics that, and I'm with you. And I know Rob as well, because Rob and I have talked about this. Rob is an extremely analytical guy. We had Justin, come in as our producer. He throws the stats up and for us so that we can talk about what's going on, because people want numbers and people want to be able to take the Red Sox, take players, and put it to a number, because that's going to determine the success. And that's just the analytical error, right? And the one thing that we're trying to do with this podcast, and I'll obviously let Rob speak to it, because Rob's got a huge TikTok following. Like, we all kind of have our own different realms, but at the same time, we're trying to bring all of each other up. I mean, you're going to have your haymakers, right? When it comes to Red Sox content, you're going to have the Kravitzes, you're going to have these people that are just, going to go off and use their own platform to do what they're going to. But the average guys like us, and I hate to put it that way, I don't mean that in a demeaning factor, we're just having fun. Like, we're just like, this is cool. I know people want to listen to this. I know people want to hear about this. I know people may want to learn more or try to get something out of it, or think it's funny, or hey, listen, these guys just we always say it's like two guys sitting in a bar just talking to Sox. Like, that's the environment that we wanted to create. So I'll let Rob kind of talk about what he thinks this podcast is about, and obviously having you on the show today.
I agree. I think the way I look at this podcast is just like two guys talking in a bar, people talking Red Sox,
so
and that's kind of like
informal.
How it is. And the best thing about it is on TikTok, I like to be funny. Like, I know, like, I'm slowly growing. I'm not growing big, but I mean, 23,000 is still a big gap. Yeah. But I like talking. I like make comedy. I always record the screen, react to the games. I'm like, okay. Or I make baseball content, joke around. Like, I try to put a comedic twist on it. So when I heard someone wanted to, I love talking baseball. And obviously when I go live, TikTok's kind of harsh because, like, you say one bad word. I don't swear on here, thank God. But when on there, when you say one bad word or one joke, you get banned on live. But I got unbanned again for the third time, so on live at least. But like, no, I like it here because you can be unfiltered. You can talk about whatever you want, especially when it comes to baseball, and especially like I love the Red Sox. Obviously, as you can tell, rocking Red Sox everything. My room, I have the green screen right now, but on the room everything's working. But we're gonna get it all Red Soxed out soon. But yeah, I love podcasts. I like talking baseball, and especially having people like you, Corbin, to talk to who are very into the Red Sox. Kevin, everybody who comes on here, whoever comes on here in the future. I just feel like it's great because this is like unlike any other podcast. It's just unscripted. We go in and we just talk baseball, and I think that's what's the best thing about this. We don't need to just go in here with a script and like this. We just go in, talk about how we feel, and it just goes with the flow.
Yeah, going with the flow, dude. Like we don't. The whole thing is we're trying to create content that we would enjoy ourselves. Like when I go back and listen to the episodes, and I'm like, oh, that was funny. Oh, that was cool. Oh, I missed that, or I mispronounced that person's name, or whatever. Like I like to have fun with it. You know what I mean? I am a family man. I work a demanding job. I do all these things. So when we run, this podcast and we got into it, we wanted to make it for people to enjoy it. And that's the key. If we're enjoying what we're doing and if we're putting out that energy, I hope that energy is reciprocated and it is following. Corbin, it's I want to hear more. I want to pick your brain. Like I feel like we got a little bit of time left, and I want to pick your brain on a few things. Tell me more about where do we go from here? We got a few more weeks right before pitchers and catchers report. We got more than that, than a few weeks, but we got some time. Where are we going? What are we doing?
Oof.
I know
it's tough because it's like 12 hours ago I would have told you we are basically all we need is a starter and we're good to go to start the season. But now you got a whole other realm here, and I don't know if Chaim Bloom is the type of guy to be like, okay, we lost Xander, let's go get Correa, let's go get Swanson. So my opinion is going to be a really creative solution, whatever it is, whether it's bringing Kike into second base, maybe you put Arroyo at second base and go out and really spend money on a DH and a starting pitcher. It could be Rafaela coming up and taking over shortstop, at least offensively for a little bit, right? He's kind of in the mix now that he's on the 40-man roster. So with that gap, this could go a million ways. My gut is telling me that they probably won't go big on any sort of position player. My hope is that they at least get Senga for the rotation. At the bare minimum, I love Nate Eovaldi. I think I'd rather have Senga at this point, just based on pure analytics and sort of where Senga's ceiling is alone. Even though Senga's profile is a lot like Nate Eovaldi's. Either way, either one of those I feel like I'd be happy with. I think at the end of the day, they do end up with one of those two. And then I think they end up making a trade for a young outfield arm. And that's sort of where they sort of cap off this season and then try and piece together with the roster how they're going to replace Xander Bogaerts. It's not going to be, I mean, Tristan Casas, Trevor Story, and Rafael Devers to start in any infield sounds really good, but because you lost Xander Bogaerts, it's not going to be a pretty infield this year.
Yeah, Rob, where do you think we go from here, brother? What give me some hope.
I really like the idea, like you said, about training some prospects to get an outfielder, a guy who's been on the radar. Obviously, Brian Reynolds, I think, would be a perfect fit in Boston. Obviously, him. There's also some like you said. Oh my god, I feel like I have a raspy voice. Hold on a second. There we go, much better. I feel like the shortstop situation. I really think what the Red Sox are probably going to do, and this is not what I think. I think this is likely. They're going to slot a guy like Story, move him to short for a gap year. And like I say, I hate to bank on a guy like Meyer, but I think he'll be up by 2024. They're going to sign a guy to play second base, maybe even like a Gene Segura, maybe a guy they could plug in there for a year or so. Obviously, the pitching, I would love Senga to come here. I think he's an amazing pitcher. I think he'd be perfect. But I want to count on a Nate Eovaldi reunion, even keeping him and putting Nate Eovaldi in there, and maybe even worst case scenario, now that you have more starters, you could move Houck to the bullpen and then pull Nick Pivetta in there, or you can even move Nick Pivetta to a long relief situation. Because as a starter, I feel like he's a decent starter, but he's a guy that is 50-50 sometimes. Like he has his highs of highs, but then Pivetta also has his lows of lows. So it'd be interesting to see, and obviously, like maybe even a trade to get a starter like Pablo Lopez, give up a couple prospects to the Marlins. Even I think there's a lot of ways you can go. And I mean, you still got to think about it. The first thing you got to do now is all hands on deck on Rafael Devers. You have to extend him. That there should be no excuse that he's not extended by the beginning of spring training. If not, the beginning of the regular season, you have to lock up Rafael Devers. As much as you think he won't extend, you just have to give him the money right now, because all that money that you lost trying to get Xander Bogaerts, you have a lot of money. You should use that to get your homegrown talent. At least make the fans happy by getting one. I mean, yeah, it sucks to see both Bogaerts and Betts leave in those years, but at least keep one of our homegrown talents in Devers, because if Devers leaves, you lose. Your fans are gonna not be happy. You lose that one big piece that you guys need. I mean, Rafael Devers should be like, there should be no excuses why he's not extended. But I think that's the direction the Red Sox go. And then, like I said, yeah, another starter would be very helpful, because then it at least lets the Red Sox fans breathe a little bit. I mean, Bassett could still be an option too. I wouldn't mind Chris Bassett coming here. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. See, but yeah, obviously upgrade the starting pitching, extend Devers, and maybe even try and get an outfielder. And then just maybe we might be a wild card team at best, if not be competitive for like second or third in the East.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my little foreshadowing, and unfortunately the pessimist in me is gonna come out, because I went to Twitter this morning in a fit of rage, and I said, you better sign Correa, you better sign Segna, you better trade Devers, right? And I was being facetious, right? But I was like, you better trade Devers, and I want 2 MLB ready guys, not some. I don't want kids that are they played well in single A and double A and triple A, and we're going to get 4 or 5 of top 10 farm system prospects from a team. I'm like, no, I want guys ready opening day. And I just kind of like went off for a second, and I was being facetious. I looked back at it and I was like, I hope people don't take me serious. Like, like they didn't pay Xander, they're not going to pay Correa, right? Kodai Segna is linked to like almost a third of the league right now as far as starting pitching goes. So are we one of those teams in the mix? I hope so. I know that the list is kind of narrowing itself. I think that would be an awesome addition. Nate Eovaldi, to me, is someone who's interesting, because from an analytical standpoint, regular season numbers, not so great. However, if I need anyone in a big game, if I need someone to pitch in a big game Nate is nasty. Like, his stuff is absolutely nasty. What he did in the wild card against the Yankees, what he did in 2018 against the Dodgers, coming in relief. Nate Eovaldi is absolutely disgusting, but we got to get there. Like, are we a playoff team? Are we going to be a playoff team? I don't know. There's a lot of time left from now until pitchers and catchers report for them to figure that out. The way that it's looking, I don't know. I don't know how much better off we are the last year or the year before, things like that. History has told us with the Red Sox that after a down year, we are usually pretty darn competitive. And I thought yesterday was the beginning of that. Yes, let's put the world on blast. We are going to be competitive. Yeah, that last place finish in the AL East. Okay, you could take it, stick it where the sun don't shine. We're coming out guns blazing. And then obviously around midnight, the Xander signing just kind of crushed that whole thing. Do they pivot from here? We talked about it. Do they bring Kike in? Does he play second? Does Arroyo play shortstop? Do we bring one of the guys up, the 40-man? Is someone going to fill that spot? I don't know if this is what I'm worried about. Trevor Story moving across the diamond is I don't know if that shoulder and elbow is going to hold up. His velo. From the shortstop, even from shortstop, and then a little bit of data from him playing second base has gone down every year. And I just don't need him, who's one of the premier guys in our lineup right now, to be at short and blow his arm out, 30 games into the season. He might come out hot and play a mean shortstop. I mean, he was a shortstop his entire career, but I don't need 30, 40 games in and then this guy going on the IL and we don't know when he's coming back. Do we make a trade for Reynolds? I don't know. I lost, and I think we all did, and we all kind of hit it. It's kind of like we all lost hope today, but there's still time. If I can leave a little bit of optimism, there is a little bit of time left for the Red Sox. There is money. I think they have, $55 million before they hit the CBT, right? So this year, so $55 million to spend this year. Go out, do what you got to do to make this team competitive. I know we think we want them to sign Rafi. I've said it from the beginning. You lose Xander, you lose Rafi. And I'm going to die on that mountain. I really am. And I know so many people out there are like, no, we need to sign Rafi. We need to sign Rafi. What in the world is giving you the inclination that this team is going to want to keep Rafael Devers. What inclination? I mean, even the report, there was some like, and I forget who tweeted it out, but like there was this weird report today that came up on my Twitter when I was looking around lunchtime, and it was like they're still way apart. Like the sides are still way apart. Like what are you guys talking about? So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. But let's end the episode on a high note. Corbin, it was so awesome having you here. Thank you so much for coming on. Giving us a little bit of insight. Yeah, of course, man. I hope we can do this again. We'd love to have you back. Let's try to link up and like I said, Sox content. Support Sox content. Support Red Seat Radio. Anyone you want to shout out, Corbin, or any drops you want to give?
No. I wish I had insider information drop on this.
I know.
That'd be insane.
I was hoping.
I got nothing,
brother.
No, man.
Brother Rob, always a pleasure, man. Rob and I, we've really kind of clicked on here, and this has been great. Our producer Justin, to the fans, I want to just apologize earlier because Justin puts his what he's saying and what he's given us up either in the chat bar or it runs across the screen at the bottom. I couldn't see it today, so I apologize. I got it like 15 minutes after he was like, "Oh, can you ask me my thoughts on Xander?" And all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, I saw it at the bottom, and I was like, "Wait a second," So I apologize to everybody, but boys, let's pray. Let's just let's hold on. Let's have hope. Be angry. Be sad. Do whatever you got to do. But let's remember that, we root for the front of the jersey no matter what. And we root for that B on top of the cap. And we hope that there's going to be brighter days to go. Once again, Corbin from Red Seat Radio, thank you so much for joining us. Rob, my brother, thank you so much. Justin, our producer. Anybody have any last words they want to throw out?
It ain't over yet. Don't be surprised that the Red Sox make any moves. I still am optimistic. You can't. I'm just saying this, guys, right now. Yes, it may hurt right now, but the Red Sox, there could still be something going on. The one thing about the Red Sox is you can never count them out. Thank you everything for Xander Bogaerts. I am always gonna remember Xander Bogaerts as the kid who got called up in 2013 and played third base, platooned with Middlebrooks. But one thing is for sure, there's going to be brighter days in Boston. We can't just bring ourselves down after this. Obviously, it does suck. It's going to sting for more than a little while. It's going to sting for a long time, but it ain't over yet. Let's just say there's plenty of years to go. There's a bright future in Boston. Still, fingers crossed we can be competitive this year, but just don't count the Sox out. I always say this wherever I go. I say don't count the Sox out because it's not over until the bell rings.
Let's real quick before we sign off. Favorite Xander memory. Give 1, 2, 3. Give me Corbin. Favorite
Xander.
Put
me on the spot here.
I know. Sorry, I do that sometimes.
God, there was I don't know, this was a really insignificant grand slam, but there was a grand slam in 2019 when he was having that insane run, and I can't remember. It was against the oh my God, was this Seattle Mariners? I think it was the Seattle Mariners. It was in 2019, and for some reason that'll always stick in my head, and I don't know why. I don't know. Obviously, there was a Garrett Cole home run. You had what he did in the 2013 World Series as a rookie. He was insane. He really helped the team out in 2013, even won a game or two for them. So there's just so many memories, man. It's crazy. But for some reason, I always go back to that random grand slam. I don't know.
That's awesome. Rob, favorite Xander moment?
I think I have two. My first one is always going to be that home run off of Garrett Cole to dead center. I remember coming home, sprinting home from work, and the first thing I see is Bogaerts drive it to dead center field. Wait. The electricity was crazy. And then last year, or this year, I should say, not last year, because technically this season's in the past, but the last game he played in a Red Sox uniform, downpouring grand slam into the rain. Mm-hmm. And then that standing ovation that he got, it was so sad to see Bogaerts and Devers embrace. But that'll always be one of my favorite Xander memories because it just goes to show, even if there was 5 people in the crowd because it was pouring rain, everybody stood up for Xander. Everybody was in love with Xander. They just showed appreciation. And I think him hitting that grand slam was just fitting. His final home run in a Red Sox uniform was just in the rain. It just it was poetic.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm going to talk about my favorite Xander moment, and really it was 2018. My daughter was born, and it's funny because we're a 162 family, right? Like we watch every game, even though we're in the New York market. We still get if the Sox are for whatever reason, playing the Yankees or even the few times that they play the Mets, we're able to get those games. So, we're a 162 family, and I'll never forget my daughter in her little pink, World Series 2018, the year she was born, shirt and her hat that she walks around in, and just saying bogey, 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 right? Like walking up to the TV and Xander's at bat and her just going bogey, bogey. And yeah, I wanted to take a little bit of a personal note because that's what we do it for. We do it for, Corbin hit on it in the beginning of the episode. Sometimes we're watching these guys, more than we're spending sometimes with our family. I'm lucky enough where my wife is such a diehard as myself, where we get home when I get home from work and it's baseball season. My daughter just goes, TV, like baseball's going on. Like she's a little bit older now, she can talk and things like that. And I sat her down this morning and I told her, listen, honey, Bogey's not going to play for the Red Sox anymore. And this is great. So, I was upset. She gave me a hug, she gave me a kiss, and then she goes, but is Bobby still playing? She loves Bobby Dahlback. She absolutely loves Bobby Dahlback. So she
Hopefully he
goes, but
stays.
yeah, she was like, is Bobby Dahlback still playing baseball? And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I was like, she's not even worried about Xander. Like she's worried about if Bobby Dahlback's going to be playing for the Sox. So yeah, I mean, so many memories. I'm going to piggyback off Rob, the hug. What's going to go down as the hug between Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts. Breaks my heart. I know Justin put up his memory. AL wildcard home off all Cole. Yeah, the emotion. Yeah, the emotion of Xander. I remember living. So where we live, we're only about 15 miles from the city. So we're in an apartment building and we were watching the wild card game, and Xander hit the home run off Cole, and we're like the only Sox fans in the building. And our apartment was shaking, and every other apartment was just silent, and just like you heard groans and moans from the windows, and people cursing and going to the courtyard and freaking out and things like that. And no, that was a beautiful, beautiful memory for us. So once again, thank you, everyone. Listen to Inside the Sox wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. We are featured on Wisdom. Make sure you give us a listen, like, subscribe, also on YouTube as well. Corbin, thank you.
Thank you.
Rob, thank you as always. Justin, thank you so much. Thank you to Grandstand Productions. Everybody stay safe and go Sox.
Go Sox.